Good morning, everyone. A little bit of international news to start us off. The United Kingdom is going to the polls on December 12th. That's 2 days from now. And, well, Boris Johnson, who's currently the Prime Minister and the man who promised to deliver Brexit, is using Love Actually and pulling out all the stops to sell his platform. And so I think this is quite good. Love Actually is a British Christmas movie about how hard life is, right? And around Christmas time, all that fun stuff. And I think this is well done. It's got quite 2 million views is quite good. And the link is in the description for you to watch it for yourself. If you've seen Love Actually, it'll be the format will be very familiar. If you haven't seen Love Actually, well, I don't blame you. Okay, so Lister Beaupre is Maxime Bernier's the lawyer firm representing Mr. Bernier's case against Mr. Kinsella, and this is the letter that was sent to Mr. Kinsella on December 9th. That's yesterday. It reads, quote, "Dear Mr. Kinsella, regarding Maxime Bernier defamation, file number 1898-001, we write to you on behalf of our client Maxime Bernier. In articles which appeared on your blog, quote, The War Room, you defamed our client on several different occasions. One, in an article posted on February 23rd, 2019, quote, is Maxime Bernier a racist? You implied that he was a racist. Two, in an article posted on October 19, 2019, you called Mr. Bernier, quote, indisputably racist and a bigot. And three, most recently on November 25th, 2019, your blog implied that Mr. Bernier was a racist. These statements are false and malicious. Mr. Bernier reserves all of his rights, including his right to seek damages from you. You should publicly retract these false and defamatory statements immediately by posting a withdrawal of these statements as well as an unreserved apology to our client in a conspicuous place on your blog, which will remain posted for 365 days. That means a prominent place. That means it's a place that's not hidden. It's not in some page you have to click 9 times to get to, right? It has to be somewhere where people will see it. Back to the article. We will await your positive response from you until 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, December 13th, 2019. Yours very truly, Lister Beaupre, original signed by Andre Martin, and that is the counsel to the firm and the firm that represents Mr. Bernier. I think this is interesting. And yesterday, I didn't really give a comment on whether I liked the legal action or I didn't like the legal action. I kind of left it and moved on to the next story. And sometimes I do that on purpose in order to kind of generate conversation, in order to not taint what you guys think necessarily. I think that sometimes if I leave it open, people talk about it, and I can share my opinion in the comments. But I'm going to talk about it a little bit now because I think it's important. I like it. I think that this legal action is a good thing, and I think that it should be used only to ensure fairness. And fairness is reporting facts and not complete fiction. And unfortunately, we saw a lot of our media reporting just made up fiction over this election and before. Just talking about white supremacy and the rise of white supremacy, their choice to highlight pictures with Maxime Bernier to say that's racist, but they don't say anything about Justin Trudeau's pictures with pedophiles or Justin Trudeau's pictures with terrorists, or the fact that Justin Trudeau invited a terrorist to an Indian state dinner. Like, these things matter, and matter much more than people trying to get pictures with Bernier that make him uncomfortable. And we know now that there was a coordinated effort to get content, quote, content for Kinsella. He said, get me content, people, get me content. Content is pictures to write about, right? So, I mean, I think that it's a good move. However, I am aware of history, and I know what they did to Faith Goldy, right? And it doesn't take much to look into what they did to Faith Goldy and say, well, how many judges do you need before that's the likely outcome? And that's not good. I don't like that. I think that that's a really negative mark on Canada's judicial system. We have election laws that state if you run ads for one electoral candidate, you have to run them for everyone. And they said, oh, we don't have to run them for her. She's racist. And that was enough. The whisper, the rumor, saying she was on a podcast with these people. There you go. Racist. Proven. All done. No court of law. No laws broken. Just, you don't get the same rights as everybody else because we said you're racist. Ha. Checkmate. Racist. So I think this needs to go through, but I'm cognizant of what happened. History is a good indicator of the future. What happened yesterday is likely what's going to happen tomorrow. So without some kind of pressure. My crystal ball says, I hope I'm wrong, but my crystal ball says, somehow they won't rule on it, and they'll say, and now you have to pay whoever's, Mr. Kinsilla's legal fees, just because why not, right? They did exactly that to Faith Goldie. What's stopping them from doing it to Mr. Bernier? I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that there is something stopping them from doing it. But as I said, history is a good indicator of the future. Moving on, Andrew Lawton noted Bill Blair claimed in the House of Commons today that police chiefs are calling for a gun ban. So weird, because in August, the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police said gun bans don't work. Okay, we're just going to listen to this. This is 40 seconds of Bill Blair. I apologize if it's not loud enough. A lot of the time, Twitter is just not loud enough. And YouTube is loud enough. It's turned up all the way, but I apologize about the levels. So here we go.
Our government has worked tirelessly over the past 4 years to better keep illegal guns off our streets, passing Bill C-71. But we know that there is much more that needs to be done. And in particular, we have spoken about the presence of military-style assault weapons having no place in Canadian society. They're designed for the battlefield and not for our communities. For more than 4 decades, police chiefs across the country have been calling for the banning of these weapons, and we heard the most compelling and heartfelt testimony from the victims of the terrible crime at École Polytechnique just on Friday. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to listen to Canadians, and we will have more to say about these next steps in the very near future.
4 decades. He said police chiefs have been calling for handgun bans for 4 decades. And yet, here's an August 14th article from 2019. Okay, we're going to go back to 2018 too. It says police chiefs say handgun ban won't stop flow of weapons into Canada. Yeah, it's not going to really do anything to stop the gun crime. Especially did you hear about the shootings on the 400 series highway on the 400? I think it was the 400, but it might have been 403. The one person who died and the 2 people who were shot. Right? Well, everybody's okay with this? It just seems like the only plan is a terrible plan that won't do anything to address the actual criminals and the actual shootings. Really. The first line of the article says the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police won't be supporting a call for a ban on handguns despite concerns about gun violence in a number of major cities, including Toronto. Here's one from 2018. And no, your eyes are not playing tricks on you. This is the 2019 article, and this is the 2018 article. It's exactly the same. It's so wild. Here's the CBC. It says handgun ban would have, quote, no impact. Police union had warns. Federal government tasked new minister to examine ban on handguns, and it says it's not going to work. It's not going to do anything. Here's a 2006. This is from the Canadian Shooting Sports website, and it says this is what police have to say about the gun registry, and this is mostly from 2006. But I want to highlight this one. It says Eric W. Ferguson, retired chief of police and RCMP officer. He says, quote, I was 75 years of age on December 31st, 2005. Part of my life story was serving 24 years with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and 4 years as police chief for the city of St. John, New Brunswick, Canada. For the past 6 or 7 years, I've stood by and watched the Liberal government of Canada mishandle gun control and in the process not save one life, but encouraging criminals to commit more offenses and yes, help to turn the good, honest Canadians into criminals. And there's more. It says, now, Prime Minister, you plan to banish all handguns is real dumb. Sir, have you not figured out yet that criminals do not register their guns? Not now or in the future. Your political plan will not save one life. And that's kind of the same opinion. And of course it's the same opinion, but it is widespread among police officers and anyone who has spent any time around sports shooters or legal Canadian gun owners. That is not who's responsible for the weapons. And I've shared links and talked about this before, but much more than 70% of the guns used in these crimes are coming over the leaky southern border with the United States, and it's because of the Liberal government's inaction on our border and the open border that we are having a lot of these issues exacerbated, and it's getting worse. It's not getting any better. And not what do you do? We have a clear plan of what to do. It's very, very simple. The process of how to solve this rampant gang gun criminality issue, right? But the Liberal government is using all of these crimes and issues to push their agenda, right? They're saying this is the reason we're making this move. And well, I mean, that's how government works, right? So, and they're justifying it and getting away with it. And I mean, well, it's going to be the next move is a gun ban, right? Bill Blair is very clear. He says lots of support there. I don't think so. I don't think so, Mr. Blair. It's unfortunate. The last story for this morning. Finance Minister Bill Morneau confirms government will increase Canadian taxpayers' basic personal exemption amount to $15,000 by 2023, says this means 20 million Canadians will see a tax reduction and 1.1 million more Canadians will pay no tax at all. There are 1.1 million Canadians making under $15,000 per year. I don't think that's something to like say, look at how good we're doing. Like, that's not necessarily a great thing, especially when $15,000 and compared to the cost of living is just incredibly not nearly enough, right? Here's CTV News. Here's the article on that. It says Liberals move on tax cuts for the middle class in the Commons. Now, on its face, this looks like good policy. I like this policy for the People's Party of Canada. This was a People's Party proposal. I don't know about how long it was going to be phased in, etc. But here's the Liberals' proposal, and well, there's a problem with it, according to Pierre Poilievre, who's the conservative finance critic. So we'll get to this. Here we go, halfway through the article. It says, quote, the motion proposes to amend the Income Tax Act to make it so that by 2023, Canadians will pay no federal taxes on the first $15,000 they earn. The change is being implemented gradually over the next 4 years, meaning that in 2020, the proposed adjustment amounts to just under $1,000 increase to the basic personal income amount, up to $13,029 from the current $12,298. The government projects that 20 million Canadians' taxes will be cut as a result once it is fully phased in, saving single Canadians $300 a year and saving families an estimated $600. The top 1% of Canadians will not benefit from this increase, and the increase in the basic personal income amount is being gradually reduced for people who make more than $150,473 per year. The tax challenge would also result in nearly 1.1 million more Canadians no longer paying any federal income tax by 2023. Based on the government's gender-based analysis, almost 60% of those individuals are women. And scrolling down, conservative finance critic Pierre Poilievre said the tax cut is, quote, too little and too late in an emailed statement. Too late because taxpayers will need to wait 4 years to see the full benefit. Too little because most of the increase will be gobbled up by inflation in that time, he said, adding that the Conservatives would, quote, read their latest proposal to ensure their deeds match their words, but didn't clarify whether or not that means their support will be there to help pass this policy. The NDP, though, suggests the government should considerably pare down its proposal and use the savings to pay for a dental care plan for Canadians, which they campaigned on. Asked whether their support for this plan is contingent on changes that reflect their suggestion, NDP House Leader Peter Julia said, quote, we'll see. The finance minister also stated that the government will be providing a fiscal update on the status of federal finances before Christmas, after the Conservatives called on him to provide the first post-election economic update as soon as possible. So I like the idea of increasing the tax exemption, but I don't like the idea of not for everybody. If you're a richest Canadian, you get punished. You have to pay more taxes. I mean, socialism 101, I suppose, but it's frustrating because $150,000 may sound like a lot, but it's not all that much. And when there's not an incentive to make more than that, right? Because taxes, etc., increase taxes on a sliding scale, right? The more you make, the more taxes you pay. Lucky you. Continue getting that raise. Should you get a 10% raise, a 5% raise, a 3% raise when you make 150? Because most of that's just going to go to taxes. Yay, the government gets more money, right? So what's the incentive, right? Comfortable, don't need to make more-ish, right? I don't know. It's frustrating, especially when the net gains is all government, right? It's the same thing with doubling the workforce, when saying having women enter the workforce is feminism and giving them rights, when really it was more about expanding the income tax, right? Now they make double. Now they make twice as much, where it used to be one income was enough to raise a family, and if that wasn't true, you would have an outrage, right? The men would say, are you kidding me? So who's going to raise my kids? Who's going to help? everything, right? And now fast forward 50, 60 years, and nobody sees housework as work, but it is work. Nobody sees advocating daily for your children as work, but it is work. And it's a lot of work. I know because I did that job. They paid me to do that job. Because in children's mental health, there are children whose parents can't do that job because they're not capable. So I did that job. It's a full-time job. And so it's strange that now, because of women's rights, and I mean, man, I'm off on a tangent here. I'm like way off what I was originally talking about. But because of the idea of women's rights is so ingrained in people, you can't even say we should have a single salary support a household, because that might be construed as anti-women's rights. And the fact is, I'm not saying that women shouldn't be allowed to work or that women should not have the access to the equal pay or anything to that effect. But what I'm saying is we've had a flip of society where all of a sudden we're telling women that your career is more important than your family. And because of women's rights, men are being silenced. You can't say, wait a second, this is crazy. We have a family to run, a household to run, and that's a full-time job. Can't say that because of women's rights, right? You're stopping the women from becoming all they can be. But what if it's all a lie? I'm worried that it's all a lie, right? Because the most important thing in everyone's life is not their coworkers, is not, if you're an accountant or a janitor or a youth care worker, I was a youth care worker, or somebody with a job, somebody who's just getting by, if you retire from that job, your coworkers, all of them aren't going to come and see you if you get sick, right? But your kids might. How has career become paramount, right? Anyway, sorry for the long diatribe at the end. I'm sure it was related at the beginning, but I can't remember what my point related to the fiscal update was. So I apologize. And yeah, well, thanks for watching. And check out CanadaPoly.com. Have a wonderful, wonderful